Way to go. You've meditated for a total of 325 minutes last month. To see recap videos like this, but how can we easily and automatically obtain a total sum of our data? Watch the full video to learn how to add all items in an array. What's up, everyone? My name is Alan, founder and consultant at For Now Marketing, and welcome back to our channel. Before we get started, if you have any questions, whether you are using Braze or considering using Braze, please reach out. You can find these addresses and more in the YouTube description below. We're going to talk through how to add all items in an array. Let's get started. Before we get started, our tutorial does assume that we're working with an array type data that stores the duration of the user's meditation sessions from the previous month. So here's a screenshot of that data, what that data looks like in the user profile. And also you can see that this data has a data type of array. So under the custom attributes page, this custom attribute is an array. To be specific, this data is an array of integers or array of numbers with these values inside the array. And this data here captures all the different meditation sessions that a user had last month, specifically the duration of each meditation sessions in minutes. That's why it's called previous month meditation session durations minutes. And although you may not have this exact data structure or this specific data around meditation duration, this tutorial is very transferable to so many different use cases. So I want to build a web push for this message, and let's just see how the data renders in our messages. So here I'm in Braze. I'm going to build a web push. I'll call this meditation recap. And in my message, I'm going to find the custom attribute, which is called previous month meditation. So I'll insert that, and without making any changes, let's just see how it renders in Braze. So I go to test, and I'm going to look up an existing user, which is myself. And whoa, we get one giant number here, which is not what we want. But if you look closely, this is actually all the numbers inside our array, just printed all at once, side by side. So we have 26, 36, 41, and if we go back to our user profile, we have 26, 36, 41, ending with 13. Let's just check, ending with 13. So at least we know that the numbers render successfully, and now it's just a matter of adding all of them. But how do we do this? So here's the idea. We're going to create a liquid variable called sum, which will ultimately have the sum total of all the minutes inside the array. And we're going to loop through the array, meaning we're going to go through every item inside our array, meaning every number. So the 26, the 636, the 41, these are all called items inside our array. We're going to take every number and add the value to our variable called sum. And here's how that looks. So first, we are going to create our variable sum using an assign tag. And every variable needs at least a placeholder value. So we will set it equal to 0. And this step is optional, but I realized our custom attribute name is quite a bit wordy. So I'm going to create another variable called sessions, assign sessions, and simply set it equal to our custom attribute variable. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that and then paste it into this and then close my assign tag. Real quick, I decided to move over to a webhook builder because I just like the way that Liquid is color coded inside this builder. So it's a little bit easier visually. Once again, all I've done is set the variable called sessions equal to this long custom attribute name. And this step is completely optional. There's nothing critical with this step. I'm simply renaming our variable and calling it session so that our code looks cleaner. Now we're going to set up a for loop. And a for loop simply goes through every item of an array and executes the same line of code for each item. And I like to think of it as a for each loop, and that sometimes helps. So first, here's the code for the for loop. I'm going to write for item in sessions, insert code here, and then end for. And let me explain this in English. So this code says for every item inside our variable called sessions, which remember, it's just our custom attribute reworded into a variable called sessions, we're going to execute this specific code that's inside our for loop. And then when we're done, we simply finish the for loop with this endfor statement. So the word item here is completely arbitrary. We could have written for X or for session or for thing, and it all would have worked perfectly fine. whenever developers code for loops, we tend to choose a name that makes the most sense. And item generally makes sense, or for our case, I would have chosen session because every item that we're going to go through inside our variable sessions represent one session. So a lot of times you see code written like for session in sessions. That's because every item technically is a singular session in a list of sessions. Whatever variable we end up choosing for right here, that's how we will reference that variable in our code to execute. So let's start doing some math already. So for every session in our array called sessions, we are going to set the value of sum, remember this guy over here, the value of sum equal to the existing value of sum plus the value of our new session. And we will keep adding new values for each session to our variable sum until we are done with that whole list. And here's what that looks like in liquid code. We're going to assign sum equal to the existing value of sum, but plus the new value that's inside our variable session. So when we write this for loop behind the scenes, this for loop is going to go through our array called sessions, and it's going to go through all 14 items inside that session. There were 14 numbers here inside our array, and we're going to add each of those item values for session into our variable called sum. When I'm done, all I simply have to do is reference or render the variable called sum, and let's see what our sum looks like. Whoops, we got to find our existing user. Again, let's see what our sum looks like. And voila, we get 325. So as my final message, I will simply write, way to go. You've meditated for a total of some minutes last month. And let's look at our test view one last time. And that looks great. That's it for today. As always, if you have any questions, please share them in the comments. We're happy to help. If you learned something from this video, please subscribe for more awesome Liquid videos in the future. Thank you for watching and see you next time.